Welcome to my school accounting and business software tutorial part 1. This is an affordable and cheapest cloud accounting and business software. Place order now. The number and contact are there on the screen. Place your order now. Hello, welcome to my school accounting and business software. It is a cloud-based application. It was designed to help school drive school accounting. It has nothing to do with school portal, so it's mainly for accounting purposes for schools. Now let me take you through how you can actually access this wonderful software. So you go to Google and type mypowersoft.com. Then you search for it. You will see Mypowersoft online business portal. Please click on it. And then here you have any of these tab here, business tracker, my school accounting software. Just click on it. And then you have where we have all our suites of application. You're interested in my school accounting and business software. So you click on here. Now it's time to enter your email, all right? And then you put your password. So this is how to access it. It's quite easy to access, and then you get to the menu. Okay, so before we get into the software, before I take you through the tutorial, I'd like to show you some of the reports that you can get from this software. Remember, I have said that this software is to help school do an effective planning. So school, to have a successful school year has to do with effective planning, how effective was the planning was. So let me show you one of the report. Don't bother about how we get this result. We'll take you through the tutorial on how we arrive at these numbers. So let's go to, if you go to the menu and click on the management report, let's show you one of the report. We have like 10 of this type of report, but let's start with one. Let's start with this one. So this report here, the intention of this report is to help school managers, to help school administrators do effective projection and act against the actual. What are the income that you are expecting for a school year, and what is the actual income that you realize within that school year? So this is what this report is all about. So let's look at for a session. Let's pick a session here. For instance, assuming this is a school, this is just a raw data. Okay, so this is a 2018-2019 academic year, and you run a report. Ask the system to generate a report for you. Now, what the system has done here, for this particular school here, the projected income for this academic year, 2018-2019, stands at 43.4 million. That's what they're expecting. Now, how did the system arrive at these numbers? What the system does, my school accounting software does, is to pick a fee schedule. For instance, every school have a fee schedule for primary 1, primary 2, JS1, JS2, SS1, SS2, kindergarten. So what the system does is to take record of all the fee schedule and then the number of students and generate an invoice for all the students. Once that invoice is generated, I will show you when we get to the tutorial section. Once you are able to generate income, for instance, you have like 100 students, you are having 100 students in a school for that year, first term, second term, third term. This system will help you generate an invoice for each of them. And when you generate invoice, it will be able to give you a total picture. This is a picture. This is not actual. This is what is projected based on the invoices generated. Okay. So down here, you also have, so here you can see all the things that are in the schedule. For basic 1 school books, The total for basic 1 is 139,500. For basic 2 books, 519,420 naira. And then you can see for blazer, okay, cardigan. This, of course, as we will show you later, some of them are things that are optional. But again, when you are doing planning, you don't keep anything out. You put everything in focus and plan for it. Okay, so this is what is expected. We call it a projected income. This is what you expect to be able to run within that school year. Okay, so if you come down here, you have a summary. Now, for the 3.4 million is what is expected for a whole school year. Now, when the account department cashier start entering the data for the invoices, entering data for payment that parents pay, when they start receiving payment, the system is also accumulating what they have received. This is what we projected. This is what, as at the time this report is running now, they've collected 11.2 million. And the system tells us that we still have, within this academic section, we still have 32.2 million that is yet to be collected. Okay, so let's keep dicing the report. The next thing we want to also look at, now for first term, how does the picture look like for first term in 2018-2019 academic section? So again, if you're looking at, this has changed now, this is 27.8 million. So for first term, if everybody pays, this is what you will get. You get 27.8 million. Again, on the summary here, it shows you that we're expecting 27.8 million, but as at today, the total collection stands at 10.8 million. So for first term, we still have about 16.9 million that have not been collected. There will be reason to explain why we have what has not been collected. Maybe not all the parents buy cardigan. Maybe result booklet, things like result booklet is compulsory, but there may be things, maybe school uniform is not everyone that, paid for school uniform. So there could always be explanation, but you have what the projection was. So the next thing we want to look at is the system also define school type. So in school type here, we have junior school, we have kindergarten, we have a nursery school, we have playgroup, we have primary school, we have secondary school, senior secondary school. So for instance, if I want to look at the projected income for junior school, so I run the report now. So the system here, so this is projected income, what I expected income for junior school, and that stands at 7.7 million. Okay, so when you look at it in first term, in first term, this is what we out of in first term, out of 27.8 million, 7.7 million will be coming from junior school. Okay, and then what you also see how much has been collected. In junior school, they've collected 3.4 million out of 10.8 million that is expected for the entire first term. Okay, so you can also drill down. This system allows you to drill down the report to class. You can actually also look at what will be coming from the class. For instance, if I look at first term, look at junior school, look at JS1. Okay, you can drill down the report. So for JS1 alone, we are expecting 1 million, about 1 million. And out of that 1 million in JS1, the school cashier has already collected 183,100 naira. So you can change dice and slice and look at different modules that makes up the school fee schedule. Okay, so this is one of the advantage of running a system. If you ask your school accountant to sit down and do this, you may not get it right. Again, in other reports, as I will show you, you'll be able to see when we pick what we expected as actual here, and we then compare it with the expenditure. So for instance, you have what you projected for excursion. So how much in first term did we actually spend on excursion? Was it a profitable venture? Did we charge less? Should we charge more? When you have statistics, when you have reports, you'll be able to have an effective school planning. If we put the fees of excursion at a certain amount, and by the time you look at expenditure for that term, it is more, it means that for next term, we need to consider increasing the money or even reducing the money if we feel that it was either too much or too less. You'll be able to, the school management will be able to make this decision based on statistics. Okay, so this is why we said that this helps in effective school planning. For instance, for JS1 here, class JS1 here, we're expecting 624,000 as school fee. So then you will then be able to pick this component of 624 and compare with the actual school fee that was collected, and that will be in a different report. So like I said, there are many reports that my school accounting software will help you generate, and each of these reports will enable you to have a successful school planning. This software is basically and principally designed for school accounting. So everything here is about school accounting. If you want, for the account department, if you want to check a student, they can simply type. You type the first 3 letters, first 4 letters of a student's name, and then you search. It brings out all the record that has to do with the student with the name that we have typed. You can also use the phone number to actually search for students. So I have all the students whose name will begin either in the middle or the beginning has IMA. So that way, I've been able to pull out all the students that have this information. The next thing we want to check is we want to see if each of these students have been assigned a class. So you scroll down here. For instance, you've seen the student. So what class is he or she? So you come here. You see all the names here are also listed here. So you can look at the Christabel and say search. Wow. The system tells me that Christabel is not assigned to a class in this system. So a name has been defined, but it's not yet been assigned to a class. So let's look up for another student's data. We have Alimat here, and say search. So it tells me Alimat Fadikwe is in the school is primary school and is in primary 3B. Sorry, she is in primary 3B. So you can check data for other students as well. Yeah, so you can check. Yes, so you have Fatima Abubakar. Fatima Abubakar is in primary school, and of course is in primary 4. And then the status is that this particular student is active. So in the account department, once a student's name is mentioned or a pupil name is mentioned, you can actually go to the system and check if the student have been defined in the system. Now, the next thing you want to see is how do you even update the student information? For instance, you have a new student and you want to define in the system. How do you do that? So you click on create, update new student information. Now, the first part here is that you can actually type the date of the birth of the student, the phone number, the email if he has. For students that don't have information, you can actually put nil. But the basic information are like the surname, first name, date of birth. Those are compulsory information. And then on the right hand here, you have the session in which the student was admitted. And of course, the admitting term. There are a number of students who were admitted in first term, second term, or third term. So you need to specify that when you're providing the information for the first time about the student. Okay, so let's still use IMA to search for students now. If you now want to update information, first we'll talk about how you can create a new student, put a new student in the student database, an accounting database. Now the next one, the next you want to look at is if you want to update information about the student. Now, let me say this. When you create information about the student, it may not be complete. So where you don't have complete information, just type nil. And as information becomes available, you then can update. So let's search for IMA, and then I have all the students whose name begins with that. I pick the first student, I say go. And then the student information is provided here. So I can actually update this information. Okay, the information is displayed here in a box and also display here on a table. So if I want to, then maybe I now know the phone number 0809 0908 123 34312. Maybe that's the student's phone number, and then you now say update. That is it. That information has been updated. If you check a student phone number, this particular student now have a phone number. So that's how you can actually update student information. And then you can also have option to delete. As you have picked this particular student, if you hit the button delete, this information is gone. You've deleted this student from the accounting database. It is not the best, but sometimes there is a need to actually take out a name from a database. Again, this is the system has been defined in a way that people who have access to this system, schools that run this system, have role. So it's only administrator that will be able to do this. So you close this. Now the next thing you want to do is to update parent information. My school accounting software allow parent information to be uploaded into the system, because one parent can have 3, 4, 5 children, and I'm going to show you in a short while how you can link a particular parent information to a particular sets of students or groups of students. So if you have, you can provide the father information here, the full name of the father, the phone number, the email, and the address. You can also do the same thing for the mother. And there are people in the school, there are students in the school that live with their guardians. So you may also want to provide here. For information that we do not have, please just simply type nil. And for the ones we have, you can provide. So, okay, so let's actually check for, maybe let's say UKO, and let's check for a parent information if we have. Okay, so we have a family here that I just defined for the purposes of this tutorial. So here you see that the father information is provided, the mother information is provided, but it's not this particular family that is defined. The people here, the children that are connected to this family or linked to this family, they do not live with their guardian. They actually live with their father and their mother. So the school now have information, the email of the mother, the email of the father as well. Now, if we want to update this information, you can actually do an update. For instance, if the mother name here is Chinyere, let's see, we can actually change this if this becomes available, and then you now say update. Boom, it's been updated. So if you look at mother's email here, you now see that a new update has been made on the mother's name. So that's how you create information for a family. Now the next thing you want to do is to link. My school business accounting software allows you to link students to their parent information. So this is where you can do it. You click on link student to family account. Okay. Now I've created one family for the purpose of this demonstration, family name UKO. So if I search for that family, I'll see Vansuko family, I select and I say go. It tells me that there is only one student here, Ima Abasi Uko, that has been linked to Uko's family. Maybe I have another Uko in the system. Let's check if we have. We can also link to the same name. So we now have Ini Abasi Uko or Happiness Aluko. So, okay, so this is likely. And then we link the second child. So that has been linked. So you see now that we have Uko family, we have Inebasi, and we have Uko Imabasi, all linked to the same family. So every time we search for you check a family name, you use a family name, you see all the people that are linked to that account. This is important because sometimes one parent will go to the bank and pay money for 3 children if they have children in school. So the relationship is quite important. And that is why my school business accounting software does the relationship. The next thing we want to look at under students information here is we've linked the account, create and update staff information. Yes, every staff that is in the school must be defined in the system. Okay, so each staff in the school has a role, and that has to be defined. So you now have admin staff, you have the cashier. So if you pick cashier, it shows you the cashier that have been defined. So we don't have a cashier defined in this system here. Maybe let's look at admin staff. So we have 2 people defined as admin staff here for this particular school. So and then you can also check the driver. You can define a driver. So this is where you do the definition. You say new, but like we've we have designed this system. You can actually update information for any body. So for instance, I put A and I search A. It's going to bring all the names of staff that begins with A. So I have a long list of staff here, but each of them have different roles. So I pick Godwin Emerson and I say go. So I can actually come here and update information. For instance, if he now has an email, godwin@gmail.com, I will type godwin@gmail.com and I say update. So one beautiful thing about this system is it allows you to create information that is available at the material time. And as more information is available, you simply update. It's as easy as that, as what I've just shown, how to update information about a staff. So the next, you want to view assign student to a class. Now, when you create when you bring student to a school, when you register a student, it is expected that you assign them into classes. So you can view people that are in the class, and in the next module, I'm going to show you how you can actually assign a student to a class. Remember, when we were checking a particular student earlier on, we saw that a student was defined that has not been assigned to a class. Again, I like to say, when you're looking at the school here, we have a test session in all our application. This test session is to allow you to try some of the things. It's just a sandbox. You can try things out before you actually could use the main system. So we're looking at the school year 2018-2019 academic section. That's the school session. And then the school here, we'll have the junior school. We have kindergarten for this particular school system I'm using to do this demo for you. You have nursery school. So if we check nursery school, and then you have 2 classes that have been defined, you can define even 10 classes. So these are the classes that have been defined. You can actually, on this system, check the people that are defined in each of the classes. For instance, if I say junior school, and then when you look at the school classes here, it has changed. So JS1, I want to view all the people that have been assigned to this class. In JS1, I have 9 students that are in this class. And then in JS2, I have 18 people that have been assigned to this class in JS2. And then in JS3, we have 24 students that are currently in JS3. So this is how you can actually view. You can pick a particular class and check all the people. All this is important because we're talking about school finance. The system will do analysis in each of these classes. For instance, in JS3, you have 24 students. How many have actually paid their school fee? How many are owing the school fee? These are all the details that you like to get at the end of the day. So this is where you actually put view student in a class. Again, like I said, this system grants different roles for different people. So if you have access to view, you can only view, you cannot change. But those who have access to create can actually assign a student to a class. So let's see how you can assign a student to a class. So again, you begin with a teacher. You cannot assign a student to a class. You can see the important why we define a teacher area earlier on, because every class you must actually tell us or tell the system who the class teacher is. So if I pick a class teacher here, and then I can pick the school session. When you pick a school session, it tells you all the schools that have been defined in that session. So let's maybe pick a playgroup school, and then in the playgroup school, we have only playgroup A. So you pick playgroup A, you now see that there are 20 people that have been defined, have been assigned to this particular playgroup A. Now, if you want, you can actually maybe Tony, you can look for a student that was not defined. Maybe let's still use Ima, which is a good example. So here you can actually pick a particular student that in which you have defined earlier on and assign it to a school. This is how you can assign a student to a school. Okay, so hello, welcome to the second segment of my school accounting and business software. Let's do a recap of lesson one. In lesson one, we talk about how you can search for students' information, how you can create and update student information, how you can create and update parents' information. We also talk about how you can actually link students to a family account. That means one parent can own can have more than one student or pupil in a school. We talk about staff information and different roles that different staff have in a school. We also saw how you can actually assign students to a class, and how you can also view a class to see how many students have been assigned. Now let's quickly look at the second part of this lesson, module 2. In module 2, basically we're going to be dealing with talk about how you define things. This is what the school accountant need to do, to sit down and define how things will go in the system, because it is the school accountants that would have overall accounting picture for a school. So this second module is what the school accountant should do. The first thing the school accountant would do is he needs to define a session. So how define a session? You click here, define school session. And here we've already defined 2018-2019 academic section. So can type a new section here, 2019 20 slash 2020 academic section. Yeah, and click save. So that's how to create. Just click save when you finished. That's how to create a new session. Next thing, after creating a new section, he would also need to define schools within the session. Okay, so you click on define school name. Here we already have some definition for 2018-2019. But if you like, or if you want to add a new school into this session, you can just type it here. So if you look at the school name here, we have defined junior school, kindergarten school, nursery school, playgroup school, primary school, and senior school. So if you want to add new school, just type the name here and click save. So the next thing you would all probably need to define is, within a school, it needs to define a class. So these are the ones we've already defined in the system. So if I pick a school name, junior school, you see here that we've defined the classes. We have JS1, JS2, and JS3. If I select primary school, you see here that we've defined primary 1A, primary 1B, primary 2A, primary 2B. And if you want to define a new class, just on the class name here, type the name of the new class and say save under the school name. Then that will be saved for you. So that's how to define a class. The next thing we want to define is the school accountant should define for that school year is the term. We'd like to know which term. So here we've already defined first term, second term, and third term. For higher institution, the accountant can define first semester and second semester, depending on how the school year is segmented. The next definition we want to talk about is define school fee items. Now, the school accountant need to define all the items that will be paid for. All the items that will be paid for, parents will be expected to pay for, or student or pupil will be expected to pay for. Basic 1 books, basic 2 and 3 books, school fee. Maybe in Lagos here we have JSCE, Lagos State. There will be a payment for that. So all the items that will be paid for that particular school year must be defined here. All the items. So if you want to define a new one, just type in this box, product, service item, just type a new item and click add, and that will be added to this list. So next thing that the school accountant must also define is the discount. Some students are on scholarship, and some people are given waivers. So all those are treated as a discount item. So they must be defined in the system. So here it goes. So these are the things we've already defined. Immediately I picked the school session. These are things that have already been defined in the system. So what you need to do is to pick the class, okay, and then you can also pick you pick the class, maybe JS3, and of course you see these are the items, discount item that we've already defined in the system for this particular school for JS3. So there is a scholarship for JS3 first term, and then there is a scholarship for uniform and books. There are certain people that are given a discount of a scholarship of 1,000 naira. Now, when we build a fee schedule and when we are collecting fee, the system will actually deduct all the discounted item for a particular student, a student that is applied, the student that is meant to get this scholarship or this discounted item will be taken care of automatically in the system. But this is where it's been defined in the system. And of course, you also have to specify the term that it is meant for. Then you now enter what is the name of the item. So you type the name here, and of course the discount amount. How much is it? So you put the amount and click add new item. That will be added to this list. So the next thing the school accountant need to define is to create a school fee schedule. So let's go through how you can create a school fee schedule. The first thing, you need to pick a session for which school, junior school, okay, and maybe for JS1. So this is a template that we have generated. Now, for you to create a schedule, the first thing you need to do is to create a template. So I've actually created it. We've created a template here for, you look at the name here. Let's make it bigger so you can see well. You have academic session, JS1, first term template. So different template here have been created for JS1. So you have first term template, second term template, and of course the third term template. So what are we going to do with this template? We're going to then define a schedule on this template. Okay. So the next part of it, the step 2 part of defining the school fees template, school fee schedule, is to first of all define a template. So once you have a template name, we can then use this template name to actually define a schedule. So let's then define a schedule. So I pick an academic session. I select the school, and then you select the class, and then you pick the schedule which we have actually created. If you did not create this schedule, this template in the first step, you will not see it here. So for JS1 here, I already have the schedule here. I already have a template that have been created here. This for JS1. Once you do that, you see the template name is also reflected on the board here for you. So if you look down, you see all the things, the item that we have actually put on this template: blazer, excursion, 5,000 naira, blazer, 6,000 naira, exercise book, 4,300, internal exam, 700 naira, internet facility, 1,005, lesson, 3,000. So you can go on and define the things you need. So how do you add more item here? You look up at the product item here, and you select the item in which we have defined before, you select maybe excursion. You want to add excursion to this list, yeah, and then you put the amount for the excursion, and then you select the what we call fee categorization. Now, let me talk a little bit about this fee categorization. There are certain fees, there are certain items in the schedule that are mandatory, that all the students must pay. Now, the items that are optional are things that the parents may pay and may not pay. So they are optional items. But when you build a schedule, you have a total overview of what a student is supposed to pay. So in JS1 here, this is a schedule we have built, and it comes to 129,000. So that's how to build a schedule. It's quite simple. Just follow these steps that I have shown you. Put the fee amount and of course the fee categorization, and then add item, and that's done. Finally, want to see how you can change the schedule. For instance, in the course of the term, you realize that there were certain items that was marked as mandatory or optional item, and you want to change it. Maybe in the course of the school year. Let's still look at JS1. This is schedule, and then we say that uniform for first term will be optional. That is what the school accountant had defined at the beginning of the school year. So, but in the course of running the business, the school business, maybe the board had decided, or the school manager had decided that, look, this item must be mandatory. So how do you do that change? How do you make that change? So I will come here and say uniform. Already here you see that the uniform is optional. So I can then come down here and change the categorization to mandatory. And then I say execute the change. Once I do that, you notice that uniform here that of 16,000 naira is now mandatory. Now these are the mandatory items, like I said before. Tuition fee in this schedule is 78,000 naira, which is mandatory. And then the school uniform, we also made it mandatory, which is 16,000 naira. All other ones are optional. So that's how you can actually change an item in the fee schedule, whether they are optional or they are mandatory. Finally, the school accountant must define the bank, the receiving bank for the school, because when the cashier will be receiving teller or receiving school fees, she will be required to select the bank in which the money was received. That way, the system is able to aggregate all the, for instance, if you have 5 banks, this system will be able to aggregate all the school fee and all the items that have been collected per bank. Okay, so that's the end of the lesson 2. We look forward to taking you in lesson 3. And I hope that you were able to go through all the things that we have shown to you. Thank you for watching. We look forward to seeing you in classroom when we're doing lesson 3. So please go to lesson 3. Now let's look at lesson 3, module 3. Remember in lesson 2, a recap of lesson 2, we talk about how you can define a session, how the school accountant can define a school name, up to how it can also define the receiving bank for the school. Now let's quickly jump to module 3, which is our lesson 3. The first thing we want to talk about is you can, in lesson 3, the first thing you can do is you can view the school fee schedule, which we built in lesson 2. So you're just looking at it. We actually did it in lesson 2. Remember, we built a template and we put a schedule on that template. So you can actually check for each of the, you can then open each of the template in lesson 3 here and look at the schedule, the fee schedule that is in each of those templates. Okay, so let's demonstrate that. We have 2018-2019 academic session. Maybe we look at the junior school. We look at JS1 or maybe JS3. And then we pick a particular template, just one template. Then we're going to see the fee schedule that is for this particular class. So we say view the fee schedule. So this is a fee schedule now. Remember, if you remember what we did in lesson 2, you will be able to reconnect that with what you are seeing now. So if you need to view, for instance, you want to check what is in the schedule for JS3, JS2, SS1 kindergarten, you can actually see the fee schedule here. So for instance, let's look at other fee schedule. Look at JS1. This one is 98,000. Let's look at JS1, and we pick for first term, and we say view. They are supposed to pay 129,000. Maybe let's even look at a different school. Let's look at nursery school, and then we look at nursery 1A, and then let's look at the for first term, what are they supposed to pay? View fee schedule. They're supposed to pay 38,000. Let's see if we've defined something for second term. Remember the template name, so you pick the template name, and then you click on the schedule. Okay, we haven't had anything there for, we've not defined anything for nursery 1A second term. Let's look at other school, like maybe senior school. We've not been looking at this senior school for this particular school. For SS1, let's look at their schedule. Okay, they are supposed to pay 134,000, and this is what makes up the 134,000. This is what all the items that they are going to pay for. All right. Let's look at second semester. So on the template name here, you find SS1 second term template. Okay, so not second semester, second term. Okay. So for second term now, they are going to pay 83,000. So you can. This is how you can actually look at different fee schedule for different classes. Next thing we want to look at is how we can see the classes that have been assigned to each of these schedule. So you pick a section, and you pick maybe junior school, and then you pick the JS1, and then you pick for first term, and you say view. Here you see that you see the students in this class has been assigned to this fee template. Now I'm going to show you how the next thing we're going to do to show you how you can actually do this. The system will be doing thousands of simulation behind that you don't even know, but it's going to take like a seconds to do this. So you have all the students here. Let's look at JS3 for the first term. So you see there are 23 students here. They've all been assigned in JS3. They've all been assigned to this fee schedule. Okay, so let's see how we can actually do that assignment now. If you remember in lesson 1, we showed you how you can define student and assign them to a class. Define student and you can assign them to a class. In lesson 2, we taught you how you can actually build a template, and then you assign a schedule, a fee schedule to a template, which we're actually using now. Now, what basically we're going to do now in lesson 3 is to join the template with a class. You can actually assign a class to a template, and you can also assign an individual student to a template. So let's see how we can do that. Assign, let's see. It appears I've missed something. Assign a class. Okay, so here you can actually assign a class to a fee template. All right. So you can, if you want to do that, you pick the school session, pick the school, and actually pick a class. All right. Maybe JS3, and then you pick a fee template, maybe for second term. All right. And you say, okay, this has already been assigned. Let's see if we can do for third term. So if you pick for third term, you can always look at the board here and go through the template name here, and you say assign a class. Here, you're going to assign a class. When you assign a class, what the system will do is going to pick each student in that class and write there everything that they are supposed to pay. So one student, if they were supposed to pay for 20 items, the system is going to pick each student, write the 20 items is supposed to pay for, pick another student 20 items. But this is done in a second, you won't even know. Okay. So the next question is that if you then have a template, a class would assign, maybe you have a class of 15 students, and then you now have a new student that is admitted that was not there. So this is how you do. You can actually add one single student to a template that already exists. If you have 22 people in a class, you can actually assign the 23rd person to that class, and every fee that was assigned to that class will also be assigned to that new student. You don't need to do it one by one. That's what this system, our system, will help you to do. You don't need to do it one by one. The system take the thinking for you and generate millions of data, and make sure that they are properly mapped so you don't miss anything. For instance, if I have a student here, for instance, in this class we have a nine student in this class, and then here are their names, and these are the fee template they are attached to. I can actually search for I can search for a new student that was registered into the system, assigned to a class. Just pick the new student here and say assign add new student to a fee template. Once you do this, everything that we have previously defined in a schedule will be attached to the student. If there are 10 items, if there are 20 items, will automatically be assigned to the student. Okay, so that's the end of module 3. We look forward to seeing you in module 4. Join us in module 4. Okay, welcome to lesson 4, module 4. Let's do a recap of lesson 3. In lesson 3, we showed you how you can actually assign a class to a fee template. And we also showed you how you can do that, assign a new student, just one student to a fee template. In lesson 4, we want to talk about invoices. So the first thing we want to do in an invoice is you can actually view the invoices that we have created. You click on view group invoice, and then when you click on invoice here, you can actually look at invoices that were created for a whole school. And of course, you can also see invoices that were created for just a class. Okay, so let's demonstrate that in junior school here. I can say view invoice, and then this is what is done for you, everyone in junior school. So you can actually also do that for a particular class. You want to see the invoice that was generated for a particular class. So if I pick junior school here, okay, and then I pick JS1 and I say view invoice, then I will be able to see the invoice that was generated for everyone in JS1. Okay, so that is how to see the invoice that were generated, how you can view an invoice that was generated. The next thing we want to do in this module is to show you how you can actually generate invoice. Okay, so here you can actually generate invoice per class. You can also do invoice per individual student. So let's see how you can do that for a class. So you select the school session and pick junior school, like I used in all this example, maybe JS1, and then you say generate group invoice. What the system is going to do is going to pick each student, generate invoice, pick if there are 20 students, it will pick them one by one and write invoices for the 20 students in a class. If there are 30 students in a class, it will pick each of the students and write invoice for all the students in that class. So you want to view that, you can actually click here, view, and then down here you will see that the system had actually generated invoice for each student in that class. Now the next thing you can do is that you can also generate invoice for a particular student. You may not want to do for a class, and this happens if you already have a class and then a new student join and you just want to do invoice for just that student because you already had invoice for other students. So what you need to do is you pick the academic section, and then you select select a school, junior school, and then you select maybe JS1, and then I want to pick letter A. Letter A, I'm asking the system to give me everyone in JS1 whose name contains letter A. But if you know the first three letters of the word, you can actually use to narrow your search. So I pick the student here, and then I then say create invoice. So invoice will be created for only this student, and then you can view the invoice that was created. So you see, this is the student name, and then this is the class, and these are all the items that is invoice have been created for this particular student. Remember, we have said before that some of these items are mandatory and some of these items are optional items. Okay, so that's how to generate invoice in which we had earlier viewed. Okay, so now if you already have generated an invoice and you have an item which you want to add to the invoice that was generated, how can you do that? So in this system here, we're going to take you through how you can add just one product, maybe cardigan, maybe ID card, and you want to apply that to a class. So you don't need to do it one by one. When you identify you define the product, maybe a plastic ID card, and then you apply that to a class. So if you have 50 people in a class, it will apply to the 50 people in a class. You don't need to do it one by one. One of the beauty of this system is actually simplify process and allow the account department to finish a set task in a record time. So let's see how we can do that. You select a session, and then you pick the class. Maybe it's a JS1 want to add an item for, and then you pick, maybe it's a first term that want to actually apply a particular item that was not originally generated. You just want to add an item to it, to an invoice. Okay, so now pay attention to this. There are two items here that are mandatory items. The system will want to know. You have to pick one of the mandatory items. The idea of picking a mandatory item, the system, because those mandatory items is applied to everyone in that class. So when you pick, for instance, school fee, and then you come here, for instance, see if maybe excursion was not, or a blazer, maybe the school said that there's an internal exam everyone in JS3 needs to write, and you want to add internal exam or external exam, or maybe internal facility or a lesson that, so you can actually pick lesson here, and the school had agreed that it's going to be 3,000 and say add to a class. If there were 20 people in that class, it's going to put this item, lesson, 3,000 for everyone in that class. So that's the first part of it. The second part of it is how you can add a product item to only one student. This one you're adding to a class. And then the second part, B part, is when you, if you want to actually add a particular product item to just a single student. Again, you do the same thing that we had done previously. You select a class. I already explained this. Maybe it's in JS2 that you want to do this. And then maybe for first term, okay, and you pick a school fee because that apply. And then here you type the name of you search for the student that you want to apply this to. And then you pick YMEC here. Okay, so you see YMEC here. And then you see the class, JS2, and then the term. And then you now do what we did before. You pick maybe it's lesson we want to apply to all of them. And of course, when you do that, you already see the item here that has already been built for. So you don't need to do it. Okay, lesson is already here. Assuming we wanted to add lesson again, you don't have to add lesson again. You needed to have defined that unique product that was not added, and you say add again. That will be added to this list. So that's how you can actually add an item to a specific student's invoice. It doesn't apply to all, but just that student. Okay, so the next we want to talk about how you can actually apply a discount to invoice. Things like scholarship are were treated in the system as discount item. The student will have an invoice. Scholarship has a value, so we treat it as a discount item. So when the system looked at it, it would ask the student to pay the difference in case the scholarship didn't actually cover the full school fee. But if it's a full scholarship, then it will be plus or minus when again the invoice will get to zero. So that way the student will not have to pay again. So let's take a junior school, and then let's see if we pick a particular student here. Okay, so you pick a session, and then these are all the uh, these are all the discount items: scholarship, uniform, books that have been defined in the system. There are people that have scholarship for books. There are people that have scholarship for only tuition fee. There are those who have scholarship for uniform. Um, Again, you can define them in lesson 2. We had shown you how you can define all these these kind of items. Please refer to lesson 2 if you've forgotten how it can be done. Okay, so if you pick just pick a particular scholarship, for instance, this is a full scholarship for JS2, and say apply. That will then be applied to this particular student. EMAC will be applied only to her. So that's how you can actually apply for a discount item. Now, the next thing to note is that when the cashier or the accountant apply for a scholarship, it will go to the school management, someone at the management level, to approve this. Sometimes it could be the principal, sometimes it could be proprietress, or it could be proprietor. So that will actually go for an approval. Now and then when you also remove an item that you then have to send it for approval, someone in the management level of a school has to approve this, and we need to set up the person who has authority to do all this approval in the system. So it doesn't matter whether you're running 2 or 3 schools, all the approval will go to the person that is supposed to do the approval. Then let's look at the approval interface for discount item. Okay, so this is approval item. You see number 1 here. It means that for this particular school that we're using for demonstration, there is a scholarship that was applied for and is waiting for approval for a particular student. So you pick a term, and then you pick a class. So when you pick, you see that one promise, Theophilus, is been waiting for approval. So the full detail comes up here for the principal, and then these are the items that makes up the scholarship. You have full scholarship, which is 78,000 naira, and you also have books and uniform, which is 1,000 naira. Okay, so all that the principal need to do, or the proprietors need to do, is to select, yes, I agree with this, put a comment around it if she has comment, and then if she doesn't agree with this, she can say no, and then put a comment and provide an endorsement. So that's how that's how you can actually, the principal can actually approve for scholarship. Now let me say this again: the system will not, in the invoice section, the system will not apply any scholarship that has not been approved. So when the accountant or the cashier raise a scholarship, it will actually go to approval. Once the approval is done, then it will be applied on the student profile. Okay. So the next thing we want to talk about is how to modify an invoice. Once an invoice is created, the school had given a picture of what the invoice will be for each of the class. But again, there may be things the parents, those items that are optional, the parents may actually pay for, or they may not pay for. For instance, if they said yes, they need to pay for cardigan and the child already have a cardigan, the parents may not need to pay for cardigan again. Okay, or if there is a excursion and the parent come out to say that he will not pay for the scholarship, so all that the cashier or the accountant need to do is to exclude that particular item for that student. So okay, so let's see. Let's pick for first term here, as these are all the items in the invoice for EMAC. Okay, and then you have a blazer, you have excursion, you have exercise book. So any of these items can be excluded in the invoice. Okay, maybe the child already have a uniform and you don't need to pay for uniform again. So all that the account department needs to do, of course, before you do the exclusion, look at that the total fee here for this part for EMAC is 129,000 for the first term. So you can actually come here and say you pick the uniform. Uniform is 16,000, and you say exclude item. Once that exclusion is done, you notice that the school fee come down to 113,000. But again, what had happened to that Assuming the parent changed mind and said they need to pay for it again, what the system does is to keep all the items that are excluded per person in an exclusive list, excluded list. So this is excluded list. The uniform was excluded. If for any reason the parents say, okay, please, can you add back? So you can pick here and say that it was excluded 113,000 and say include back in the invoice. So it's included back. You can see that the uniform is back here. So that's how to actually modify an invoice. You can exclude things that will not be paid for and allow for only things that are paid for to stand. And of course, when parent pays school fee, you send a schedule, they will tick for things that they have paid. The ones they have not paid, you need to exclude from their invoice. So the system would then have a total picture, a complete picture of what the parent is supposed to pay, what they had paid, and what is remaining to pay. Let's see how you can actually print an invoice when all this is done. So you pick a particular class. Maybe we can pick primary school. We can look at primary school. They have less items in the invoice. And then you select search. Let's see. Let's pick Zachariah Simeon. Okay. And then you pick first name. All right. So you're supposed to pay 41,000 and it's in primary 4. Let's see how we can generate this invoice for the parent. Okay, before we do that, let's see the how the invoice is summary is done. So here, the system does what the child is supposed to pay in first term, and of course the discount is applied for that first term and what the balance will be. Okay, for a child that has scholarship, the scholarship will be taken care of here as a discount item, and then the balance is supposed to pay for that particular term. Now the system also do an overview of the entire section, first term, second term, third term, or first semester, second semester for a particular school. This is what the invoice, the total invoice, and then the total excluded thing that the student is discounted for and what is supposed to pay at the end of the semester or at the end of the session, the school session. Okay, so the invoice we printed is up here. Okay, so you see the summary of the invoice as we've seen, and then you can now actually print this for the parent. Okay, this is the end of lesson 4. We hope you've enjoyed it. Please, let's move to lesson 5. Okay, welcome to module 5, lesson 5. Before we get into lesson 5, let's do a recap of lesson 4. In lesson 4, we showed you how you can create an invoice, how you can generate an invoice, how you can view the generated invoice, how you can add an item to an invoice, and how you can apply discount to an invoice. We also talk about how you can view or modify your invoice, and as well as printing invoice for parents. Remember, invoice is intent of what the school intends to collect. Now let's look at lesson 5. In lesson 5, we're looking at payment. The first thing we want to do is to see how the cashier can use the system to receive payment. So this is exclusively for cashiers and anyone who collect the money on behalf of the school. So for you to collect money from students, you click on the receive invoice payment, and then you go and pick a session you want to collect money, and then you pick maybe junior school as we've been doing, and let's type a student's name, EMEC. Okay, so you select EMEC, and then you pick for first term you want to collect money for first term. Oh, this is the invoice, and EMEC is supposed to pay 129,000. So what you then need to do is to focus here. Each student can make payment make multiple payment, and then you use the system to collect it. Okay, so to collect money, you first of all pick the date of payment, maybe today, and then the amount, assuming she paid let's say maybe 20,000, and then you then have to put a description what this money is meant for. If you look down here, school fees slip number, so there is a reference number here, so you can actually do a reference to the teller that you received. Okay, and then mode of payment here, you can, okay, if it was a bank teller that they brought or a POS payment, you can pick POS. If it is a bank teller, you pick bank teller. If it was a bank transfer, you select bank transfer. Then the next thing you need to also tell us is what kind of account was this money received into. Some school have primary account and secondary account. Primary account are the account that money must be paid. For instance, if there is a particular project that is sponsored by a particular group for the school, and all payment, for instance, if there was a money that is meant for uniform to go to a particular account, so that becomes a primary account for that. You need to select if it's a primary account or secondary account. Once you do that, the system will then give you the list of all the primary bank accounts. For instance, I select Zenith Bank, and then you click on received. So the amount now will be received. Don't forget that on 9/7/2018, 112,300 naira was earlier received. So the other thing we want to also show you here is that this is the date of payment. The system also finger and write down the person who receives the money and the date the money was received. So sometimes money is not posted on the day it was received. So then that will allow the chief accountant or the those managing the school to check how the cashier receives money. Okay, then you then have a summary account here. For this first term, EMC was supposed to pay 129,000 naira. She was not scheduled for any scholarship, so no discount. And of course, she paid 112,300. The balance is 16,700 naira. Now, in the whole session, I think in this system we've created an invoice for first and second term. So first, second term, the grant for the session will be 285, and then this is what she has paid on first term. So that then, if you look in terms of entire session, this is what is the balance. So that's how to receive money. The next thing we want to show is how to print a receipt. You also would want to print receipt for payment that have been done. This can be automatically done. So you pick a school, junior school. Let's still use MEC for purposes of this demonstration. And then we pick her name, and then you pick first name. Okay, so you see this is a fee. You can just hit the button here, and the system will print for you the receipt for this payment that was made. So here you see that it is a bank teller. This payment was made as a bank teller, and then the receiving bank was Sky Bank that received the money. Don't forget, when we get to report, you'll be able to use the system to generate the report bank by bank or what was collected per session and per term. Okay, so the next you want to see is how can you view payment received per class. Okay, so this is when you would like to see, you wish to see people that have paid and people that have not paid their fees. So you can do this in terms of class. So let's view some classes and see. Please remember that every data we use here are just temporary data. They are not real data. Okay? So when your school subscribe to the software, you'll be able to put the proper data. So whatever data we use are just sample data. So we pick the junior school, and then maybe for JS1, and then we pick first term and ask the system to tell us those who have paid. So the system is back. These are all the money the cashier has received. He has received money for this class. For JS1 first term, she has received for 6 people have made payment. Okay, and then you also, these are the list of people that have not paid. So perhaps there are 11 students with 11 invoices that were created. So out of that 11 people that were created that were in this class for first term, 6 people have made their payment as of today, and 5 persons have not made their payment. So the system makes this distinction. So At any point in time with a click of button, you can know all those that are paid. Then you can also pay attention to what has actually been paid. Okay, for these students in this student pay for Friday wear, which is 3,500, and that was done by a POS. All right, and then this one paid school fee, balance is 600 naira. He had paid 20,000 naira. So in the comment field, you can put any comment here. All right. Okay. So that's how you can actually check in a class who has paid and who has not paid. So if you look at JS2 here, you can actually check and see, okay, so 12 people have paid in JS2, 10 people have not paid. And these are the names of the 10 students that have not made their payment. Okay. All right. So this is all this data are fictitious data. It does not relate to anyone. Okay, so the next thing we want to show is, remember that there were some payment that were received in terms of POS. The cashier need to confirm every POS payment. So this is the module to do that confirmation. How do you do confirmation? We request that when payment is made, whoever that is managing the school account should collect a printout of payment from the bank, and then what the cashier need to do is to check that all the payment that was made, is in the system, all the payment. So this is once he has that, you should be able to come and confirm here. All right, you should be able to confirm the payment that was made or not. So here, for this particular day, there was a POS payment. Confirmation is no. So what he needs to do is to come here, confirmation. Now I can see it. If there is a remark you put, and then action confirmation. Once this confirmation is done, okay, so you can even put a comment here, say seen in account statement. In an account statement. Okay, and then you can say confirm. Once you do that, you now notice that confirmation status has changed. Yes, confirm date, which is today. The remark I made seen in account statement, that's where the source of my confirmation, and I've actually confirmed that POS payment. Again, this is important because most transfer, sometimes the recipient doesn't receive transfer that are made. So the school, the account department, must do due diligence on all POS and transfer that were made to a school account, just to be sure that the payment indeed hits the school account. Okay, so the other thing here, another thing that we want to show to you is that you can actually refresh your debtors list. Let's see this report. We advise that before you run a report, just try and refresh the data in the cloud. Okay, so the refreshment has been done. Let's see junior school, and then JS1. So you can also look the same report you do. You can actually come here and check those that have made a payment. You see, I made a refresh. I just refreshed the system. So this tells me how many people in JS1 has made payment and the amount they've actually paid. Okay. So in the next module, we will take you through different reports. You will generate all sorts of reports. What the bank received. You will be able to generate report based on heads of account in a term. How many people paid for school bus? How many people paid for books? How many people paid for school fee? You'll be able to generate. So what is remaining in this module is in the heads of the account. Sorry, running reports, and the report is made based on heads of the account. You can have all these reports, and then this report will help the school management to have a comprehensive review of how they did within a session, within a term. Thank you so much. Let me remind you that what you can do is please go to our YouTube channel and subscribe to this channel. When you subscribe, every time we bring a new video on this software, you'll be the first to know, because you'll get a notification that we have actually launched a new package. We have done modification to this package. Every time we customize, this software to meet different school needs. When school, sign up for this application, what we do is that we have a team that actually spend time to look at a specific school need, and we try to generate report to meet their business need. Thank you. I'll see you in the next module.